Stepsons, how many of you would like to learn how to ride a motorcycle? It has been years since I've ridden a motorcycle, but we are actually with a friend of mine who is going to show us not only how to ride a motorcycle and tell us about motorcycles, but he's going to show us a little bit of repair. Stay tuned and let's learn about motorcycles. Stepsons, I am here with a good friend of mine, Roger Liston. Roger, you are actually an electrical engineer?
Yeah, that was the formal training, yeah. I'm actually a recovering engineer.
A recovering engineer.
Yes, I'm kind of trying to get over that training.
All right, well, here we've got a neighbor's bike that needs a repair then.
It does. This will not idle. It'll run fine around town unless you let the idle speed go down, and it just, it stops. It's a particular part of the carburetor that's responsible for the idle, and when it gets clogged, no more idle.
Can you start it and show us what the problem is?
Yeah, let's do that. Okay. Now I slow it down. It should still run.
Idle, but it's not running.
Yeah, just fast.
Yep. What do you do for the repair then?
Okay, you want to take the seat off, which we've already done. We've taken the mounts that hold the tank on off. We've disconnected the fuel line because it's a lot easier to get the carburetor out working from the top. Here's our carb. That's what we're going to work on, and it's so much easier to access. What carburetors do is mix gas and air together in just the right ratios. There's two parts of the carburetor. There's a slow speed part and there's a high speed part. This is the throttle. When the throttle moves, this particular part comes out. This is called the slide. What we're going to do is loosen this clamp here. This clamp here holds the air filter. This is the tube to the air filter. We're going to loosen that, pull it back, take these two screws out, and wiggle it up and out. All right, so what I'm doing is loosen this little tube up. You know, rubber kind of sticks to metal when it's been there 5 or 6 years, which this has. And here we're prying it off. And what I'm trying to do is just peel this back so I can push it down. And
You probably need to get on this side for part of it. Oh,
there
no.
we go. There we go. Okay, so that's popped loose. We rotate it back and forth, do the wiggle, free carburetor. Just need to detach this fella here. This is the choke cable.
Choke.
Yep.
And the choke does what? Governs how much air goes in and out?
I'm going to pull the choke, and what it does, it shuts off some of the air. And what that means to the engine is it's getting slightly more gas in the mixture, which engines need when they're cold. Very similar. Here we go. Here's the way it's supposed to go. That's where I get it. Now this will slide out. Oh no, we can move. Now we can move it down. So the first thing that you want to do is let the gas out of this, and we did that just a minute ago. And just do that by turning the carburetor upside down, and it flows out. Next, we take. This is the bowl that holds the gas. This is how the carburetor is positioned when it's operating. And the gas will come in down through here, and it will fill this bowl up. And then we'll see when we drop this bowl off, like right now, we'll see this little valve here.
That's the float.
That's the float, and gasoline causes that to float up. And there's a little tiny valve right in there that's called the needle valve, or the float needle valve. And there's what it looks like. And this little part wears out. It's not worn on this one. You'll see a little ridge in there. And when that ridge happens, the carburetor will tend to leak. The level of gas will raise and just pour out through one of these tubes. This looks really good. We're going to set it aside. Here are the two guys that regulate the amount of gas that goes into the mix. This is the fast one. It's called the main jet. And this is the slow one. It's called the pilot jet. And this is the one which is clogged. This is the fella that usually gets clogged up because it has a hole in it that is so small, even when it's clean, you can't see light through it. It's hard to see light through this, even when it's clean. And so I'm going to hold it up, and it is, it's plugged.
Okay.
But let's compare it to this one. See light through that?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So this one's good. Don't need any help there. We put it back in. This is a little bit tricky to clean out. I'm going to show you the easy way. And you point this away from your friends. You put this carburetor cleaner in it.
What's that?
You got it? Okay. Actually, it's not clean. I'm going to get a little piece of wire and run it through there. Take a couple of these small wires and run it through. And I kind of push this little wire through as I turn it, and it is working its way through. It has to be really small because that hole is just tiny, tiny, tiny. See how far we're through? We're about halfway through. I'll try it from the other end now. Now let's do our test.
Nice straight shot of it.
Yep. That's what we're hoping for. Yeah, now we put it back together. And I'm just checking to make sure these are snug, because they run really bad when they vibrate out. I'm holding the float with my 2 fingers to line up this little pin that goes in here. And it goes through both. And see this little tube in here? There's a little cut out on the float for it. So that tells us how to put this back on. And so we'll just start these real quick. Third of a turn after snug. Ready to put her back together. To put it back together, a good way to go is in reverse order of what we took apart. And the last thing we took apart to remove the carburetor was this choke cable. If you'll hold that wide open like that, yeah, that'll be a big help.
There you go.
We took an extra pair of hands. Yeah. And that little plastic piece is easy to break, so I'm being very careful. Yeah. We're going to put it in exactly the way I brought it out. And if we do it right, we can get them both to snap together at the same time. And that's what I'm trying to do. Just as long as I get it inserted in this, just involves hooking it and pulling it. This is an excellent rubber lubricant.
There you go.
There we have it. Now we're talking. And move this clamp forward. And you can find
Just about
everything. Yeah. Now while it's there, I'll pull the clamp back. There we go. The main thing you want is just for the carburetor to be level.
Put the front clamp on.
Front clamp. This is the slide, and when you open the throttle, it pulls this up. This plugs the passage between there and there. And when it's all the way down, it almost shuts it off completely. When you turn on the throttle, it lifts up. Okay, that's in. The reason we have this is because I can work on it with the tank off. Here. And this is just an easy way of testing it. Put it all back together. And maybe a little choke just to get things rolling. Still a little cold. Let's see if I can smooth that out a little bit. This is the air adjustment. This is the speed adjustment. That's plenty good, yeah. Okay. for remounting the tank. It has on this bike, it's got one bolt in the front and then a strap in the back that holds it down. And then this little strap holds the back end down. Here we go. We don't need a real pretty one here because the seat covers it. They have pretty bolts and so-so bolts. So we put the so-so bolts in here. And you always start them by hand, and then tighten them by wrench. Otherwise you cross-thread them and have a very bad day. There. Putting the big pieces back on. All right. And let's go for a seat. Just gets hooked in. This little guy hooks the front of the seat. You push it on, and then the back goes down, and we put bolts in to hold it together. Okay. Should be road test time. Gas valve. This is off, and let's see. That's on, and when it runs out there, you push up the top, and there's a little gas left.
How do you start it?
For this bike, there's no key. There's run and not run. Run and
And now because we fixed the idle, you don't have to run the throttle to keep it going.
exactly. It will idle.
And that's how you turn it off.
I'm going to show you the most important thing to teach your trainee in riding a motorcycle. This. And it has to get to the automatic level. When they want to slow down, they do not have to think about it. They automatically do this. And here's how I teach my trainee. I'll say fast, and they'll go, and I'll say slow, and they'll slow down. This has to be rock solid, locked into part of the microcode in their head. Then the next thing, since this is automatic, you can teach them how this clutch works. Once this is automatic, you teach them any way you want, and it'll work. Okay, fast. Okay, now we're going to twist it the other way, and that's going to be slow. Okay, now fast. Okay, and then slow. Now we're going to go faster, but you're going to do it slower. Okay, yeah. All right, now hold it right there. Okay. Now slow down at the same rate. Slow, slow, just checking.
I hope you learned a little bit about motorcycles. I want to thank Roger for taking the time to show us how to do that repair. Roger and his wife actually go to Africa. They're there now, and they're teaching boys that don't have other skills and opportunities how to do motorcycle repair. Couple of pointers. Number one, if you're riding a motorcycle, always wear a helmet. And number two, know what you're doing before you go riding a motorcycle. But they are fun. If you get the opportunity and someone can teach you how, do it, because it's pretty fun. Always remember 2 lessons from every video. You can succeed even though your dad is not in your daily life. And always remember, your stepdad loves you. I'll see you on the next video.
I wish I could look like Mike Rowe on camera. I think he is just the best.
See, I have a face for radio.
I feel like
an artificial heart.
it does. Yes. Okay.
Jarvik
Chunk,
7
chunk,
there.
chunk, 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 chunk. It's speeding away.
All right.
That was harder than the carburetor. This is brought to you by Marie Calendars.
Marie Calendars.
We chopped this one up a little bit. They look a lot better than that out of the box. Got a rubber chicken down in storage, and I have maracas. And I get asked, this is the tough part of the process. I say, here, will you help me? The customer's there. And I said, you wave it over the motorcycle while I go, hey, 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 hey. It's the toughest reinstallation I've seen in years. Of course, it's just because we're filming it. And that's what they do with a lot of the DIY things. They don't show you the hard part.
Yeah. We got the mic wire. I can't take off now.
You can't, no.